And like smart negotiators of all ages, kids know that no is an opening bargaining position. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important, especially if you're a job seeker. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
A fully leveled up video game character marvels at how far he's come, and the milk rushing through a jug handle is having the time of its life. This is The Onion Week in Review. This week, top executives from the U.S. financial sector announced they're about ready to ruin the world again. Representatives from all major banking and investment institutions said that more than enough time has passed since they last caused a major global economic meltdown, and confirmed they're pretty much fully prepared to bring about a brand new worldwide financial crisis.
We feel like we've given people enough time to get comfortable again. Consumer spending has increased. Housing market has rebounded. So yeah, we're all set to go ahead and ruin the global economy again.
And in other news, the perfect gift for a local man is unfortunately a gift certificate to Lowe's Cinemas. Mall shoppers look on in awe as a helpless 15-year-old girl is viciously torn apart by a pack of her peers. And a drunk pilot decides to pull over onto a cloud until he sobers up. You will now hear 3 gong strikes and a recitation of the great chant before being ushered to the hallowed garden. For more, keep checking theonion.com.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live. Welcome to the program. It is open phones every single night, 7 nights a week. We're here live to take your calls about whatever's on your mind. If you want to join us, with you tonight, you've got Ian.
And Aria.
So we've got some updates that are in the news that I think we should talk about, including the latest on the 17 million minks that they have been put to death in Denmark, if I recall correctly.
It was Denmark.
Yeah, so horrifying news when we originally talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Well, they've done the exterminations. I don't know if it's all of them, but they've exterminated some large number of minks over there, and it looks like they're rising from the grave.
Well,
so we'll tell you about that coming up here in a little bit. But first, another update. This one sort of from the coronavirus crackdown pushback news, because we've been trying to find the proud business owners around the United States and elsewhere that may actually be refusing to obey, that may be refusing to just shut down and destroy their own businesses because the government gang said so.
I mean, it's the logical place to go at this point. I mean, if the government's going to shut down your business anyway, then you have nothing to lose by standing your ground.
Almost. See, it's not quite nothing to lose because, well,
they'll throw you in jail and stuff.
Right, there's the jail thing, right? And that does dissuade a lot of people from doing what they otherwise would have the courage to do. Because if there wasn't jail involved, and it was just, well, if I'm going to lose my business by doing this, F it. I'll just, throw caution to the wind and possibly lose my business for just opening my doors without government permission. But no, they will, if you, for instance, continue operating past them pulling your health permits and the other government permission slips that you received because you begged for permission to open your business in the first place.
At least one place has done that, despite
continued after having their permits pulled. You mean, let's see. Trying to think of which one that was. Which one was it?
I don't recall. I just remember, I know there's a lot of these. I just remember that one restaurant or bar had its permits pulled and it continued operating.
Yeah, God, which one was it? There was one on Friday that, that you're thinking about the Staten Island bar.
Probably.
Right? Max, I think is what it was called. We talked about it earlier this week. I actually have an update on that particular story as well.
Okay, great.
They had their health permit / liquor permit pulled on Friday. This past Friday. Now, going back to Sunday River Brewing, I think they had theirs pulled a little while back. So we'll get the update here from Bangor Daily News. This is out of Maine. And this was one of the first guys, at least that I remember hearing about, to make a stand. This wasn't just within the last few weeks. This was within the last couple months that he did this. So Sunday River Brewing Company's owners have been found in contempt of court after defying an order to close for violating coronavirus restrictions. The Lewiston Sun-Journal reported that Oxford County Superior Court Justice Thomas McKeon imposed a $5,000 fine for each day that Rick and Ron Savage, the Bethel Brewery and Restaurant's owners, continue to operate in defiance of the order.
$5,000 per day?
Per day.
How do they justify that?
They don't have to.
Okay.
They can do whatever they want to do.
Intellectually, I know you're not wrong, but it's still surprising that most Americans was like, yeah, they deserve that $5,000 per day fine, and that's totally okay that the government can just do that.
Well, I wonder what most Americans would think about this. I mean, it seems like most Americans are obedient little serfs who will do anything they're told to do by their masters in government. So I suspect you're right about that, but ultimately we don't really know what most Americans would think because they haven't been asked. There haven't been polls, I don't think, on the question of what do you think about business owners who defy these ordinances.
Well, I think most people support the lockdowns. So
that's what the media would like you to believe. And I don't, and again, what's the real question? What kind of questions are they asking when they do these polls? Of those polls that have been done about this, how large are the sample sizes? I mean, where did they do the polling? Did they only call, New York City? Or did they call the Midwest, where there's been more pushback by average people just ignoring all this crap? So the attorney for the brothers told the newspaper Monday night that, sadly, they intend to comply with the judge's order.
Well, $5,000 per day is going to rack up pretty quickly.
No doubt. And I presume that would mean that the government would then go and steal the property. If they were the owners of the property, they would likely try to steal that on the tax books, which, just as they call it, is a tax sale. So, if you are, quote, in debt to the government for more than the property is worth, they can just take – actually, they can take it for any amount. If you are in debt to the government – for any amount of money, they can steal the entire property from you.
Well, you don't even need to be in debt. They can just take it. And they do it all the time. They just call it eminent domain. So if they want to take your property, they will. Yeah,
I mean, but they have to have at least some sort of an excuse for eminent domain. And whereas if they just slap you with a fine, they can just jack your property over that. So that's likely what would happen in this case. The brothers said they intend to comply with the order. Earlier this month, McKeon, the judge, ordered Sunday River Brewing to close for 30 days. That came after the company flouted an October injunction restricting its operations until its licenses were reinstated after new violations of state coronavirus mandates, including not following the face covering order. But Rick Savage promised to defy the November 12th order, despite accruing $600 fines per day for every day Sunday River Brewing remained open. Savage has been a vocal opponent of the governor's economic restrictions since the springtime, even reading her cell phone number during an appearance on Fox News. After continuing to operate despite having his licenses temporarily revoked, Sunday River Brewing was ordered to close in May, but Savage pledged to defy the order, even if it meant going to jail. So, whenever I hear talk like that, I get excited. I always love it when people are willing to actually put their freedom on the line for other people. I mean, ultimately for other people's freedom. I mean, obviously he's doing this for himself. Right. He wants to keep operating his business, but anybody that's willing to put their freedom on the line like this is helping all of us. And it's a shame that they're so alone in these efforts, that it's just this one guy. Maybe there's somebody else in Maine somewhere. I mean, we certainly don't have our ear to the ground to every single story, but it doesn't seem like a huge pushback. There is a woman here in New Hampshire that I learned about. She owns a bakery, and she is going to be challenging the $500 fine that was assessed to her recently.
Awesome.
There's also a guy that owns, I believe it's a bar in a town called Lincoln, which is a little town sort of halfway up New Hampshire, sort of halfway between here and the ultimate high-end North Country there. But allegedly, he's a free stater. So I presume that means this guy is also going to be willing to fight.
You would hope so.
Yeah. I have not met this person. I don't know. I can't speak for him, but that's just, I know that they've targeted him as well. So we'll see. But so again, the folks over there in Maine, they continue to operate. He said he would defy the order even if it meant going to jail. However, apparently he's changed his mind about that.
Well, $5,000 per day is a hefty fine. And as you mentioned,
no doubt.
If his goal was to maintain his business, it became impossible at that $5,000 fine because, as you said, the government will just take it from him if he accrues too much debt.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that we've never really seen, go all the way through. As far as most people will crack, most people will break. And I don't blame anybody individually for doing this because people want to do what they feel is going to bring them the least damage. And get them out of the situation. unfortunately, that attitude taken as a whole from all of the business owners out there, if that's the attitude most business owners go with, or even the supermajority of them, then it just means that total obedience is the name of the game, and there's almost no one to stand up, and those few that do stand up are just, they have their heads cut off like this.
It's tragic. We need more people resisting.
Yeah, we do. And so there's a little more here. Savage, that's one of the owners, has also joined other Maine businesses to sue the governor over her economic restrictions meant to halt the virus's spread. The lawsuit sought an injunction to order her to allow businesses to immediately reopen and end a 14-day quarantine for visitors coming to Maine. The judge, or a different judge, in August ruled in the governor's favor, but Savage and others appealed that ruling to federal circuit court in Boston before eventually withdrawing the appeal last week. So,
hey, at least their case against the governor had some sort of momentum and trajectory and actually went somewhere.
Yeah, but they withdrew the case.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say that went anywhere. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Now, I'm not sure what their reason was. Maybe their attorney sucked. It's certainly possible. 855-450-FREE, like freedom. You can join us here. We got more coming up. And the Dead Minx, an update on that coming up.
Bitcoin.com is the best source for learning about cryptocurrency. Go there now, click on Get Started at the top of the page. Once you do that, you'll find a cornucopia of information, neatly organized for your needs. If you're a knowledgeable crypto user, check out news.bitcoin.com, where you can get the latest headlines. Bitcoin.com is your source for buying cryptocurrency, getting a wallet app, mining, trading, and all the latest cryptocurrency news, all on a slick and easy-to-use website. All put together by the best minds in the business to teach you about cryptocurrency. Bitcoin.com. Divi's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divi's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to diviproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from diviproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. diviproject.org. D-I-V-I project.org.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at baenbooks.com. Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive, and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by T.J. Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at baenbooks.com. Free Talk Live.
I actually tried to delete my own Facebook. It only lasted 2 days. I couldn't get off it. It was tough. They won't delete it. They want you to come back. They know you're going to come back because it's like a drug. They know you're coming back for it. They're crazy like that.
Some people I went to grad school with, they would give their password to somebody else and tell them to change it so they couldn't log it back on and give it to them after finals were over.
My problem is my password is after my dog's name, Buster, so I actually name all my passwords that.
So what's your
Right, what I'm saying is...
But what's your username?
Well, he's my little bub.
Okay, but you could give someone...
He's very nice.
Okay, so
everybody loves Buster.
I just want to say thank you for redeeming this.
You might want to go change all your passwords now.
Yeah, she's suggesting
well, it's not just Buster. I use capital letters and numbers.
Okay, but...
Great call, man. Thanks for making it. I appreciate it.
I hope that was fake.
Thank God. Of course it was. It was hilarious.
What are you talking about?
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless free market non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is Free Talk Live, and you can bring up anything that you want here. We're talking once again about business owners who have stood up, and they deserve to be applauded for standing up as long as they have. I mean, I don't blame anybody for dropping off. We got a chatter in our chat room saying, shaming business owners talk live. And and I said to him, you got a better idea? Look, I don't want to shame somebody. Like I said, I don't blame the individual for doing what seems to them to be the path of least resistance. Unfortunately, that is going to result in the destruction of more of our freedoms.
We're not shaming business owners. We're shaming cowards. We're shaming people who are afraid to put anything on the line and stand up to the government. Those are the people I'm shaming. The ones who stand up and they ultimately buckle. Hey, at least you tried.
You stood up. Yeah. That puts you in the top 1%, probably the top 0.5%, maybe the top 0.1% of business owners. I mean, it is few and far between to find anybody who is willing to say no to the government for any length of time. So I think those business owners deserve kudos, and I think that they deserve to have business brought their way. I think people should come to their restaurants and their bars while they are still open, and I think people should fund their GoFundMes if GoFundMe doesn't take the campaigns down, or whatever other alternative means there are to give donations to these people. Remember the guy in Toronto that we talked about over the weekend? He runs a barbecue place, and they arrested him for reopening his business. They changed the locks on his business.
How do they justify this?
They called it trespassing.
But it's his property, right?
Well, I don't know if it's his property, but they changed the locks on his property so he couldn't get in, and he broke in to his own business.
Good for him.
So and they arrested him for it.
For trespassing in his own business.
Yeah, and charged him with like 13 different things.
Canada, man.
That was after they charged him already with like 9 other things. So, this guy is going to the mat with this, and that is amazing.
Like the gym owners in New Jersey.
Yes, and the guy in Toronto, unlike the pretty blonde salon owner in Dallas who, raised $500,000 back in the very beginning days when she was also continuing to operate. She was kind of like a pretty lady, so you could understand why she might earn $500,000 in her GoFundMe.
Not really, because that's excessive.
It is, but people like a pretty lady. This guy in Canada, not a pretty man, and he's pulled in $250,000, and that was as of Saturday. So I haven't checked since Saturday, so I presume it's even higher now. If the government gang comes after your business, right? So there's two possible situations with a business as far as ownership is concerned, right? You can either own the building and the business, or you can just own the business and you rent the building, right? So if you are like normally having the ownership of the building gives you more leeway. That's certainly the case. But on the other hand, it also means they can steal the property from you, I would think, if they start fining you and then they do a tax sale. Whereas if the owner of the building is not the owner of the business, meaning the owner of the building is a separate legal entity.
Right.
So the owner of the building is up to date on paying property taxes, and there's no, unnecessary liens for any other thing against the owner of the building. Then if the owner of the business is being issued fines, that should not affect the owner of the building, because the owner of the building is not the owner of the business. Does that make sense?
It does.
You following that?
But it makes me wonder, what would the government do in that case?
That is what I'm wondering as well.
I suspect they would start to fine the property owner for
Based
not
on
evicting the customer.
I don't know if they have a legal leg to stand on with that particular argument.
They haven't had a legal leg to stand on for any of this.
Well, but yes, they do. See, Arya, they passed the emergency order statutes that authorizes the governors to just simply spew out these orders, call it a state of emergency, and then all of a sudden he can do whatever he wants to do. That's, quote, legal.
But that's illegal under the Constitution.
But until somebody challenges it in court, and until the Supreme Court of, fill in the state,
which is never going to happen.
It's not going to happen anytime soon.
Well, the Supreme Court is part of the state. Right. It's never going to vote for something that would, restrict the power of the state.
I mean, you're right. Most of the time it will vote in favor of the state. There's still a slight chance that it may say, hey, you guys went too far with this. Separation of powers, you can't do that. There is still a slight chance that that could happen, but again, it would require somebody to take the right case and have them accept that and hear it. So the odds that that's going to happen are very, very slim. So from their perspective, what they're doing is legal because it hasn't been ruled as illegal by the men in the
Holocaust was also ruled
right.
legal by the Nazis. So I don't take legality as a very important thing.
No, it's not a good argument. But that's the way it is.
And that's the argument they would make.
Yeah.
And that's the argument that, these masses of people who support the state would accept. Oh, but it's legal.
Right. Well, they haven't overturned it, so therefore. But your question is what I was wondering as well. If the business owner doesn't own the property, but the property owner's friendly, right? So the property owner's on the Liberty side, but it's not the property owner who's going up against the government. It's the business owner who's going up against the government. I agree with you. They probably would try to put some pressure on that property owner, but I don't know if they'd be able to pull that one off because the property owner's paying the property taxes, and so therefore they don't have like a legal crux, or a juncture that they can like put pressure on in that particular case. So it would be very interesting to see what happens because if the business, so like every business has a certain, value, right? And I don't remember what it is. I think it might be like 3 years worth of revenue is like what the sale price of a business typically is, if I recall correctly. I could be completely wrong about that, but basically,
I don't have any idea.
Yeah, the idea is if you want to sell your business, you look at what the last year's revenue or however many years was, and you say, okay, last year times 3, that's ultimately what I'll sell this business for. I've heard that said. If you've ever sold a business and you've got a better formula, please feel free to call in. And obviously, it's whatever you can get for it, right? But there's the asking price. And so at some point, the amount of fines at $5,000 a day, which is what they're going to hit this guy in Maine with, who had originally said he was going to fight and was willing to get arrested for it, but now he's apparently going to back down. The $5,000 a day, that's quickly going to accrue to be more than whatever that business is worth, right?
Oh, yeah.
So if, I know, for instance, like the business here in town, Timoleons, it's a little like a little family diner. They were trying to sell that. I think they only wanted like $300,000 or something for that. And so, at $5,000 per day, I mean, you're going to be at $100,000 in less than a month.
Yeah.
So
it's a prohibitively large fine.
Right. But then what does that mean as far as them acting on you for that? Can they put the business owner in jail? Because like in New Hampshire, if you get fined for a parking violation or a speeding ticket and you go to court, it's a $150 fine or whatever it is, right? And you lose, you found guilty, and they issue you the fine and you say, I'm not going to pay it. I'm willing to go to jail. They will sit you in jail for $150 a day credit towards the fine. But you aren't your business legally. So are they hitting the business owner with the $5,000 a day fine, or are they hitting the restaurant with the $5,000 a day fine? And if the restaurant doesn't pay the fine, does that mean the business owners get put in the jail cell?
Probably.
How does that work exactly? The toll-free. This is something I've never experienced before. So if you know, you can tell us. Let us know. It's Free Talk Live. More coming up.
Pounds and mounds of fur. Our hairballs have hairballs.
Our cat Mama, she's 10 years old. She has dandruff and an oily coat.
I have 2 cats, Dixie and Daisy. Daisy sheds like crazy.
If you love your pets as much as I do, you want to do what's best for them to live long, healthy, happy lives.
DINOVITE.com. I just tried this wonderful Catalicious Dynavite for cats, and my cat has been on it for 2 weeks. She is not scratching anymore. She's not chewing anymore. It is just the best.
I was thrilled when I heard Dynavite for cats was coming out because I'd seen the changes in my dog. To introduce my cats to Dynavite, I took the advice from Dynavite and put their food on top of just a scoop in the bowl, just to get them used to it, because I know if I even switch one little thing, they put their nose up to it. There was not one problem.
Dynavite for life. You won't believe how happy your cat will be.
DINOVITE.com.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way. You can do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me. Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa, Hey, who do you think you are? Excuse me.
There is no video or audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't going to make it.
Wait a minute.
Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable!
Why are you running from me? Because you're scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this? Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. You can dial in toll free here and bring up anything that you want. Our number is 855-450-FREE. We'll go to your phone calls and thoughts. You're certainly welcome to bring up whatever is on your mind. With you here tonight, you've got Ian.
And Arya.
Bitcoin.com. That's a great place to go to learn about cryptocurrency. In fact, tonight, Arya, you've got a story about Bitcoin. We'll get into that coming up here in a bit. The mainstream media hit pieces against it are back in action now that it's hit a new all-time high on some exchanges recently. We'll get into that story. But if you want to learn the basics about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency like Bitcoin Cash, get on over to Bitcoin.com, click on Get Started at the top of the page, and then you will we'll be able to go through an easy introductory video to kind of give you the basics, or dig deeper if you want. They've got more information. You can spend as much time learning about it as you like, but if you only got 10 minutes, that's more than enough time to get down the basics over at Bitcoin.com. Plus, you get the latest news headlines from the world of cryptocurrency on their news site at news.bitcoin.com. That's news.bitcoin.com. We're going to go to your phone calls and thoughts. We've been talking about business owners standing up against the government goons. There are not very many of them, and once the pressure really starts coming on, despite having people backing them up and supporting them, most of them will crumble, unfortunately, and we just don't have enough cohesiveness to make anything significant as far as a movement of business owners to gathering together and backing each other up. That hasn't happened yet. I was told
it's starting in some places with these 75 restaurants and bars or whatever. I think in Oklahoma that agreed not to lock down.
You'll have to give me more information. I had not heard about Oklahoma, so I'm curious to know.
I think it's Oklahoma. You and I discussed it on the show. So
there was something in Illinois.
That's probably it then.
Okay, Illinois. Yeah. They wanted to get like an answer from the government. I don't remember what was the latest on that. But let's go to your calls and thoughts here. We've got Scott. He's on the line. I presume this is Scott the Bigot calling from Florida.
Yes, it is. Good evening, Ian and Aria.
Hey.
I was going to talk about the Jews, but I'm not going to talk about that tonight. You got me so incensed with the government or whatever. I got a suggestion for business owners that we can fight the government. And listen to what I'm going to say. We're in a depression. This COVID-19 has crippled businesses, all right? There's going to be a revolution in this country coming very soon of at least 50, 80 to 100 million people where when they can't pay their mortgage, can't put food on the table. That's number one, all right? There's going to be a big revolution coming to overthrow the U.S. government. Now, for businesses to combat these towns, these SOBs, you got to use logic. The coronavirus has crippled their business, right, Ian and Aria?
No, it wasn't the coronavirus. It was the government restrictions that have been crammed down their throat, and the fearful Americans who, even if they weren't restricted by government, would be so cowardly they wouldn't even leave their houses.
Yes, it's the restrictions. All right, so let's use common sense. The restrictions have destroyed businesses. If businesses banded together in small towns and said, look, we're not going to pay our taxes. We're not going to pay our taxes. All of them banded. Mm-hmm. The town doesn't get revenue. It starves. They all ban the IRS. Yes, that's the weapon they could use. Just stand together, says, you ruined our revenue, destroyed our revenue. We cannot pay taxes. If they band together, Ian, an area, 20 businesses, 30 businesses, and refuse to pay taxes, that would bring the town to its knees. That would bring the government to its knees.
Yeah, and you really wouldn't need a large number of them. You don't need a majority. I would say 10% would be a significant resistance that they wouldn't be able to handle.
What do you mean? If people banned and refused to pay taxes, what do you mean? Elaborate, Ian. What do you mean?
What I mean is, and I don't mean just refuse to pay taxes. I mean refuse to obey all these government edicts and diktats. But ultimately, you wouldn't need the majority of businesses. You would only need a strong minority. And I think if you could get 10%, heck, even 5% would be noteworthy. 10% would be, I think, they wouldn't be able to do anything about it. I mean, one out of every 10 businesses, they're gonna shut all those people down, put them all in jail? What are they gonna do?
I don't know. I think here in Keene they could handle 10% of businesses. Yeah.
If businesses didn't pay their taxes, says, look, we have no, you destroyed our revenue, our income. We can't afford it. We just can't afford it. And they stood together and refused to pay state and local federal taxes. What would happen to this country?
Well, the thing is, I don't think most businesses are paying property taxes anyway. If they don't own the building, then it's the property owner that's paying those property taxes. So you would have to get property owners to refuse to pay those taxes. I think that rather than focusing on a tax refusal, which, not that I'm against this, right? Like if you're going to go all in, you might as well go all in, I suppose. But I'm just talking about people refusing the coronavirus mandates. I mean, it'd be great if we could have a full-on tax revolt, but people aren't even ready to make any kind of stand. It doesn't seem so. It would be hard to ask them to go completely to the mat with this. But
I'd like to say something else.
Yeah.
In the Revolutionary War, everyone knows there was a famous saying, no taxation without representation. If Americans all across the board, working Americans, everyone, I mean millions and millions, said, look, I have no income, I have no revenue, your restrictions destroyed my ability to make a living, and Americans across the board absolutely positively refuse to pay the IRS tax money, what would happen to this nation, Ian? Wouldn't it bring the...
You're really hung up on this point, Scott.
Well, I don't think he's wrong.
He's not. But, I mean, this is why we advocate the use of cryptocurrencies and stuff like that, to stop funding the war machine. I mean, that's my life's mission, is to defund the war machine. And cryptocurrency is the best way of doing that I've seen.
Well, I mean, I will answer your question, Scott. What would happen if you had a mass tax refusal? They would just print the money. Because ultimately, they don't even need the tax. The whole IRS is really just an experiment in obedience than anything else. Because if you think about it, they don't need that revenue to do anything. They can just print the money. They can fund the entire governmental system by just turning on the printing press or incrementing numbers in a computer system, and they could get rid of the IRS. They don't have any need for it. It's only there to give people obedience training, to get them to do what they're told every single year, obediently pay up, and feel as though they are dominated and feel as though they are owned. Because with the IRS and all the stupid requirements and the stupid forms and the mandates and all the confusion and having to hire accountants and having to hire CPAs and all these tax experts to do these things, it's a $1 billion industry, probably a $7 billion industry. I don't know how many billions are involved in tax obedience, tax conformity. There's a ton of money that these, H&R Block type people are making off of this. And a lot of those IRS people probably go on to do tax consultancy work. So none of the people in that, quote, business want it to go away. So it's going to be with us. But the reality is, if 90% of Americans stopped paying the income tax, if a bunch of businesses decided they were no longer going to withhold employees' taxes, it would do absolutely nothing to the government. They would just print the money.
So what you're saying is, if there was a massive tax revolt across the United States, Americans wanted to use it as a weapon to put the government in its place, to fight back. You're telling me that it would have it would have no long-standing.
We can look this up real quick. How much money does the IRS collect each year? Because it's not going to be a drop in the bucket of the U.S. yearly budget.
That, from what I understand, the IRS only basically collects to pay interest on the government debt. Like, it doesn't even do anything,
which
more
isn't
than
getting
that.
paid down anyway.
Like, it doesn't do anything more than that. So
well,
it's total
it's just
obedience.
an idea.
Yeah, hey Scott, it's not a
idea.
bad idea. I think what it would do for people, if they actually followed that suggestion, and thank you for the call tonight, what it would do for people is empower them in that moment to make them feel as though they are in control of their own lives again. And that's why the IRS continues to exist, right? Because the obedience is an important thing, to train people to just do what they're told, follow all the instructions, obey, pay up. This is a very valuable thing to tyrants. Right?
But as long
Train
as people are
that.
still giving the USD value by accepting it as a currency and using it as money, the U.S. government will continue to print it and still pay for its bombs and wars.
That's the other key. So if you're going to opt out from the taxing system, you also need to opt out from the money system. Otherwise, they just turn on the printing presses and devalue the money that you have. So it's pointless to just stop paying taxes. You've got to go to step 2, which is to get into alternatives like crypto or precious metals. More coming up. Free Talk Live.
Silver has always been nature's very own antibiotic, and only one system allows you to generate an endless supply of natural silver solutions. SilverLungs.com. You'll find no wild claims or pseudoscience, just a lifetime of nano-sized pure silver solutions. The Silver Lungs generator allows you to make your own, so stop paying for silver solutions. The unique lung delivery system targets respiratory infections where other silver solutions simply cannot reach. See the Silver Lungs generator and lung delivery system at SilverLungs.com. That's SilverLungs.com.
It's not over. Sadly, our nation is going through tough times again, with no end in sight, and nobody knows what might happen next year. That's why it's a good idea to plan ahead, so you aren't caught off guard. Nothing's more important than having enough food to eat, and we're here to help. We're My Patriot Supply, America's leading emergency preparedness company. We provide long-term emergency food that lasts up to 25 years in storage. When grocery stores run empty or disasters strike, our foods will be there when you need it most. Act now and secure at least a 4-week emergency food kit full of tasty meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. We have dozens of emergency food storage kits to choose from. When the government tells you not to go out, you can have the peace of mind that comes from being prepared. When you order from MyPatriotSupply.com, your food will arrive discreetly at your doorstep in no time. Prepare today. Time is short. MyPatriotSupply.com. That's MyPatriotSupply.com.
Do the letters IRS give you anxiety? I'm Dan Pilla. I've defended people from the IRS for more than 40 years. My book, How to Get Tax Amnesty, created the tax resolution industry and is responsible for helping hundreds of thousands of people. It can help you too. If you're a non-filer or facing IRS enforcement right now, your case is unique. You need real help, not cookie-cutter advice. My clients get my personal attention. Buy my book at danpilla.com and get a free consultation directly with me. That's danpilla.com. Let's start solving your tax problem right now.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our email